In this video, we're going to explore how you can use the canvas tag. So let's go back here to ChartJS. And this is one of the basics. Basically, ChartJS consists of two core items. It's a JavaScript library, but also the JavaScript library is using commands to draw in the ChartJS. To draw a chart in a canvas. So if we scroll down here to the bottom of the chartjs.org site, you will see here HTML5 canvas. And the question now is, what is that? So maybe you've seen this quite often. In my videos, I use consistently the canvas tag because it's the requirement to draw. However, let's dive deeper. What is a canvas tag? Because probably many of you have a slight idea, but have never seen it in action. And seeing it in action will give you a far more better understanding what ChartJS really does, because we have already covered some parts of JavaScript. Now let's look at this part. Alright, to do this, I'm going to use a blank canvas here, and this canvas has basically nothing in here, or this is just a HTML and with a bootstrap template, and in here we're going to make our canvas, and the canvas will eventually start to draw. We're going to draw some samples here. And if you look here, what is an HTML canvas? In w3schools.com, at the canvas tutorial, you see an introduction here, and it talks here about a canvas element is used to draw graphics on a web page. Yes, and this is being done, and we can see here, it's used to draw graphics via scripting, usually JavaScript. Alright, so that is basically what we're doing here with the ChartJS library. The good thing with ChartJS library is it is an automatic. It has all the logic and foundation ready, so we don't have to play around with the logic. Now what we're going to do is we're going to play around with the logic, and we're just going to do some basic lines that you will understand that it's quite complicated, or at least it's quite time consuming exercise. So ChartJS does their work very, very well. So let's start. For example, here we're going to draw a canvas. So we're going here back, we're going to make a canvas. And then we say here canvas, which is the canvas tag. Then we say ID equals blank canvas. And here's the thing, the blank canvas here, or this is basically canvas, and we can give it a height and width. In this case, no need. But what I will do is I will give it a background color, so it's easier to spot. So I say here BG, let's say dark. Alright, once we did this, refresh, we can see now we have a black or dark background canvas. In here we can start to work and draw specific items. So if we go here, we're going to, I just make some space here between, and here we're going to create a new JavaScript. Say script slash, alright, so we have this, and between here we're going to work and put in a basics. The first one what we're going to do is, you have seen this always when we start with ChartJS, which is, I'm going to use const, we can do a constant, and we say blank canvas equals what? Document dot get element by ID. And then we say here which ID we want. Well, we want the canvas ID, which is the blank canvas. Alright. And then we have always the dot get context synchronization to the and semicolon. Alright, so basically here we just say this variable, this constant, is the following: get element by ID. What are we going to get within the document, or document? In this document, get an element with the ID blank canvas, which is the canvas tag with the canvas ID, or blank canvas as the ID. And dot get context means start to draw. We're going to draw, and then we put in 2D. There's another one. There's also WebGL, which is it had been in development, then it was stopped, and maybe now it might be again back in development. We don't know yet. We will see. There are some frameworks working with this, but not that many. It has not been fully supported with the browsers, and who knows in the near future, as more frameworks are being used, that it starts to support. However, 2D is well supported with every browser, so that's fine. So you don't have to worry about that, as ChartJS indicates here as well. Great for rendering performance across all modern browsers, +11 etc., etc. So, but basically, if you use Google Chrome, you don't have to worry anything at all. Most of the others. All right, we've got this. We have this here. So now let's start to draw something. To draw something, we just can get here. Oh, not the editor. No, I want to go here on Canvas Drawing. Just below, and then you can see here. This is one of the items here. As you can see here, Canvas get element by ID. All right, and then it says here CTX is the canvas dot depth. All right. You can do that. We already put it in here, and then remember we use like chart, and then it says here new chart, etc., etc. If you recognize that in ChartJS. However, we can just use this for now. Everything here is fine. So we've got this, and now we go back to our HTML file, and in here we can start to draw. All right. So basically here you have CTX, the CTX is just context. It will be variable or a constant, but in our case it's not CTX, it's blank canvas. Alright, and you can see here, what does it really do? It says here, blank canvas fill style equals red, and then here it starts to say or indicate what is the shape and where does it start. 0 here is basically we're going to the first 0. First value is related to the x-axis, but it starts at the top corner, the top left corner, and then we have the other 0. So the second 0 is equal to the y top left corner, meaning the x is goes basically any value here. 0 means goes 0 places to the right, 0 pixels to the right, meaning that it will stay here at the corner. And then we have the other one, the next one is, and if it's 0 as well, it's 0 pixels, this should be pixels as well, down. So that would mean going down here, 0 pixels down. So we have this here, and then what is the next one here? Basically, this is indicating the width, and this is the height. However, as well here, it always calculates from up, which is exactly the opposite. If you are familiar with ChartJS, we always tend to work from down, and then we'll go to the right if it's a line chart, and if it's a bar chart, it will go up or down, whatever it needs to go depending on the height. But from here, it goes up. Well, you have now the logic is exactly opposite. So that's quite a puzzle to figure out as well how they did that in ChartJS, and that within just simple codes. All right, so this means this one here means what is the width, and this one here 75. What's the height of that shape? Let's save this and let's check how that looks like. Once we refresh, you can see now we have 150 pixels in width, and a height is 75 pixels. And it starts all from up here. So you can already imagine now, let's say you want to have, what's the full length would be 300 and the full height would be 150. Let's save that. Refresh, there you are. Alright, so we see this. So let's go back and I'll just undo this. Imagine you want lines. You want to have lines here. How can we do that? Well, very simple. Basically here we can start to indicate the width and or how many steps to the left, and here how many steps down. So if you want every 10 pixels a line, we can do like this, and then here the width or the length of it should be 300, which is the full from left to right, and then we have here how many steps down, or how many height. So basically 1. So this is one a thin line. You want to take our line 2, 5, etc., whatever you want. So you can see here if you copy this and then we do again the same, and then we say now 20 pixels down. We do the same, we do the same, do the same, and same. And here 20, 30, 40, 50, and 60. Now you can see we have these lines here. And this is basically how the bar chart work, or how a line chart work, where you have these X and Y scales. So we could do exactly the same for X and Y. So let's do the Y part. where we're now not focusing on this, we say 0. Here we go on height, or sorry, this is the width. So you have the width here every 10 pixels. And this should not be 300. Now here we say 1, and this should be 150. Alright, so you can see it's slightly thinking about how you do it, and it's a real formula built on it. Then we have here 10, this will be 20, 30, and 40. So as you can see now, we get these rasters, and this is really how it works. So I want you to imagine, or let's try and challenge to put this down here, and this can be fine here, but these lines should be down here, as in the chart, and maybe you can put a space between here, so there's like some space between at the beginning and at the end. So what that would mean here, we want to jump at least 10 pixels to the right. And this, the width should not be 100 or 300. It should be, if you have left and right 10 pixel space, you should have here 280 pixels. And then here the same story. Left and right 10 pixels would mean, or sorry, here, up and down, so there's some space between. So this top and bottom. So we say here 30. Let's save this. Refresh. Now we have these rasters, and now of course this we still have to push a bit more down. So how are we going to push it down? But here we already have this line. Here could be even a thicker line if you want to. Or we have to first move this down. Let's move that down, and then we can play around with that. So if you want to move that down, let's think, because basically you have to think the opposite, the exact opposite here. So we say here this is not. Let me double check here. Are we going to test? So let me test here by putting it on 290. Sorry, no, not 290. 140. Refresh. Alright, so we move that down 140, and then we're going to do 130, 100, 120, etc, etc. Alright, so that's 130, 120. You can see that it's quite hard, it's quite challenging to think as well, so it's exactly the opposite. And 90. Alright, there we are. So now we have these lines. And imagine we want to have the first one more thicker, so we're going to create a thicker line, 5. Same here. We have to see which one is the first one. In this case, it's this one here, which is the 10. So we can say this one 5. Let's refresh. As you can see, now we have a larger scale line. Alright, beautiful. So now imagine we want to have here a shape with a bar. Let's try that as well. So we can do almost exactly the same. Of course, there are more other commands you can use. I'm just using this one just as an example, because I'm not that fluent, of course, in Canvas, because I'm not using Canvas. I'm using this, I'm just showing you this as demo purposes, but I use more, of course, the ChartJS library, which is built in, and happy for that is being made, pre-made, that someone really invested a lot of time to figure that out. And this is why ChartJS is quite challenging if you would just check under the hood just to figure out the logic behind it. Alright, now we're going to make a bar chart. So what I'm going to do is this bar chart will be starting somewhere here, going up to here. Yes, and this is probably like 10, maybe 50, this is probably 50 pixels. So let's see what happens. If we're going to move our line here, so the height here should be about 50 pixels, alright. The position, alright, if we start from up and we're going down, we need to do at least 50 down. No, we need to do 100 down, but 100 down means 150. Oh, sorry, that's in this one here. 100 down would be 150. We need to start here at this line, or maybe even slightly higher, normally at the thick line here. This is 5 pixels width. So I hope you can follow me. So it's 10 plus that, or this is already 10. Well, let's try. We're going to play around. I'll just say 140 for now. Here, and this I will do 20. Let's save this and just double check. I'm looking at it and I am seeing something happening, but I'm not sure what, so we can ignore that. No. So here we have to do 140 down. 140 minus 50 should be 90, of course, because you remember you're working from up. Alright, so we're working from up, and this is very hard to see. Let's make this 10. And what I will do here now is, let's see what happens if we give it a different color. We'll make this 0, 0, and this will be green. Alright, so there we are. So that is basically how we can do it. And so if you have another variable with a new color, so I'm giving you different colors. Imagine you want another bar just besides here and you have 20 pixels besides. Well, we can do that as well. We will say here instead of 20, we'll do 40. And this is a longer part, meaning, so this is 90 here, and then this one is 50. So we have 40, and then let's see here. If I do this 19, this should be matching as well. So you can see I'm making a mistake here. What's going on here? 40. If this is 50, this should be maybe 50 as well. That is exactly in the opposite here. So we're going 20 or 10 pixels more down. There you are. So now we have a bar chart. Now basically in Canvas you can make your bar chart, but you can see here already, to draw it yourself here will be a big challenge. Of course, it's fun to learn, and many Canvas Canvas drawing libraries use this. Works basically on this, and this is really under the hood, understanding Canvas. The goal, of course, here was not to teach you how to use it, but to have an understanding of it. And if you have this understanding, you can imagine the following. If you want to create your own shape in there, add something extra, this is the way you do it. There are a lot of references as well. Let me double check here. If you scroll down here to the bottom, you see here reference, and you can see here every possible option. There are lines, gradient, colors, and patterns, which probably you recognize if you see this create a pattern. There are some different items for that. Linear gradient, fillers, the path, the stroke, all of these. Many of these terms also are being used in ChartJS. See, like here, these curves, I don't even know how to pronounce it properly, but all of these kind of curves, and rotation, rotate, translate, transform, scale, as we are using scales as well. You can see here all of these items are being used in ChartJS for a reason, because they are based on the foundation of this. Alright, so I hope this was a useful item to understand really what's under the hood, understanding this part, really what is Canvas. And if you want to learn also how to convert that into ChartJS, or how to read ChartJS basically with this, check out the other video, which is one of the basics, as far as you absolutely should know. So if you like my videos, check out in my description box for my ChartJS course in Udemy, which goes very deep in every item and every possible chart. And if you have any questions regarding to this, post them in the comment section below.